Hello there. You're very welcome to our brief overview of ProArgi-9 Plus. You're going to find out what ProArgi-9 Plus is, who can benefit from taking it, and also how to take it. So ProArgi-9 Plus is actually part of the V3, we call the Vital 3 system of ProArgi-9 Plus, Mystify, and Phytolife. So ProArgi-9 Plus is working on the cardiovascular system, Mystify is working on the immune system, and Phytolife is working on the pH balance. But by increasing oxygenated blood supply around the body and carrying the nourishment from the Mystify and the Phytolife, that's when you have excellent repair within the body. So let's concentrate on ProArgi-9 Plus and what is it? It is what's called an arginine complexer. And an arginine complexer actually is the food for the body to start working on its own cardiovascular system, which is really what we want to happen. Who would benefit from improved cardiovascular system or increased oxygenated blood supply around the body? Well, actually, everybody would benefit, but people specifically with conditions like blood pressure. If you have raised blood pressure, there is a lack of blood supply getting somewhere. The body is trying to compensate for that and will increase the pressure. But if you open that blood flow, you actually release that pressure. People with high cholesterol have arterial system aging faster than they are and have excessive stiffness there. People with diabetes, 2/3 of diabetics actually die from cardiovascular problems. So if you eliminate the cardiovascular problem, you have big benefits for people with diabetes. People with Alzheimer's and dementia as well, lack of blood flow to the brain. By opening the blood flow to the brain, you work on improvements for that. Also athletes. Every athlete would love to know how to increase oxygenated blood supply around the body so that they can have better performance and better recovery. That's just a handful of people. But in actual fact, there isn't a person on the planet that wouldn't benefit from better oxygenated blood supply around the body. Everything started back in 1998 when the Nobel Prize for Medicine actually proved that a gas called nitric oxide is a signaling molecule in the cardiovascular system. And the cardiovascular system is going to be determined, its performance will be determined by the amount of nitric oxide that we produce. Nitric oxide is known as the miracle molecule. And Dr. Louis Ignarro, the guy in the middle there, he wrote a book called No More Heart Disease, How Nitric Oxide Can Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease and Stroke. So if a Nobel Prize winner is saying that can happen by increasing your nitric oxide production, then it is definitely worth paying attention to it. A couple of ingredients that are very important in ProArgi-9 Plus, L-arginine and L-citrulline. So arginine is the amino acid which, when it goes into the bloodstream, the body uses to make nitric oxide. But that only lasts for about 1 to 3 seconds. L-citrulline is another amino acid which slowly converts into more arginine, and that's when we get more nitric oxide production. So the combination of the L-arginine and the L-citrulline are very, very important. There's a few other ingredients that are in there. For heart health and as a delivery system, you have B vitamins like 6, 9, and 12. You have pomegranate concentrate. You have grape skin extract. You have ascorbic acid. You have ribose. You have vitamin D3, and you have citric acid. And so they are the ingredients that are in there to make up the combination of ProArgi-9 Plus. That's why it's called an arginine complexer. In 2009, there was a place called the High Desert Heart Institute in California, and it's run by this guy called Dr. Siva Arunasalam, and he decided to do a human clinical study at his own expense using ProArgi-9 Plus, and he picked 33 of his end-stage heart disease patients. These were patients who were actually maxed out. No more could be done for them. And he asked them would they take part in a clinical study on a food supplement. Now, some of them laughed at him and said, what's the point? But still took part. So he gave them 4 sachets a day, 2 a.m. and 2 p.m., which is 20 grams a day. And the results are phenomenal. If you go to YouTube and put in High Desert Heart Institute, you can look at videos of this guy being interviewed, the nurses, some of the participants. What actually happened is within 90 days, any of the patients who were on transplant waiting lists, this is over 60% of them, they were taken off the transplant waiting list because they no longer required a transplant. There was 7,000 points of data collected over that 90 days, and you can get access to what those results were. When the 3-month study was over, these patients were actually able to use Mystify and Vitalife moving forward. And a year down the road, these people who were medically maxed out and on loads of medications, they were either off their medications totally or had reduced them by 98% at the end of a year. Phenomenal results. So let's have an understanding of why some people have cardiovascular problems and others don't. And it's all down to a thing called ADMA, which is short for asymmetric dimethylarginine. So everybody has a certain level of this, and it will be parked on the lining of our veins and arteries called the endothelium. So this is taking up real estate, taking up a parking space on your endothelium. Arginine comes in to park there to make nitric oxide, but there's no parking space. So what happens is we lower the capability of making nitric oxide when we have high level of ADMA. And so we need to get our arginine levels over our ADMA levels at 160 to 1 or better to override this problem. And this is the main reason why people have cardiovascular issues and some people don't. So this is why it varies from person to person as to what level of arginine they need to take to overcome this problem. So let's look at 2 scenarios here. Here's scenario 1. This is a person with a particular level of ADMA, and this is their natural arginine levels. So their natural arginine levels are not reaching the correct ratio of 160 to 1 or better, so they are slowly going to decline in the cardiovascular system until something comes forward as being a problem. Now, they could start taking 1 sachet a day, and they might not feel any different, but what they have actually done is slow down the progression of their problem. They could take 2 sachets a day, and all they've done is balanced their arginine ADMA ratio. It's only when they start to take 3 sachets and 4 sachets that they're going to really see a difference in their health and notice things changing. Here's another person who has a lower level of ADMA, and their natural arginine ADMA levels are quite close. So they're nearly at the 160 to 1. Once they take 1 sachet a day, they've actually passed out that 160 to 1 ratio, and they are going to start seeing benefits in their health. If they want to go up to 2 or 3 or 4 sachets a day, what will happen is they will massively speed up the progression of repair in the cardiovascular system. When we take ProArgi-9 Plus, we are actually going to have a spike in nitric oxide production for the first 2 to 3 hours, and you can see it there in the graph, and then it starts to drop away all the way down to the 48-hour point. If you take it 12 hours later, we are starting from a new baseline, and we increase to a higher level of nitric oxide. When we take it another 12 hours later and another 12 hours later, we are what's called increasing our baseline, so we're having a bigger impact of nitric oxide production, which is going to have a bigger impact in the repair of our cardiovascular system. If you were to miss ProArgi-9 Plus for a 48-hour point, you are going back to 0, and you have to start building up your baseline again. So how do we take ProArgi-9 Plus? Well, I would take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach and last thing going to sleep. And it's working away there while I'm asleep. But when I want to start taking somebody on the road of ProArgi-9 Plus and I start getting them into it, I would get them to put a sachet into a shaker, say 300 mils of water, put the sachet in, shake it up, drink a third of it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, sip a third of it over the day, and then take a third of it going to sleep. And do that for about 3 days, let the body get used to it, and then put 2 sachets into 300 mils or a bit more water if you wish, and take a third, a third, a third. When that person is ready to go up to 3 sachets a day, they can take a full sachet first thing in the morning, sip a sachet over the day, and then take another sachet going to sleep. The going to sleep part is very important because you should, when your body's not used to this, take it just as you're rolling over to go to sleep, not when you're going to bed, because you can have vasodilation within 20 minutes and then wonder why you can't get to sleep. So that's an important thing to watch out for. If you're going up to 4 sachets, then you can take your 1 first thing in the morning. You can either sip 2 during the day and have 1 going to sleep, or sip 1 during the day and have your 2 going to sleep. The maximum anybody can take, even if they want to attack a major problem, the maximum you can take in the day is 2 sachets every 4 hours. The reason for that is because your body will not metabolize more than 10 grams per day, or sorry, per 4 hours. And if you're taking any more than that, you're actually wasting it. So that's something to watch out for. But if you're keeping within those guidelines, that's the upper limit of anybody taking it. If somebody's taking ProArgi-9 Plus and they don't feel any sort of benefit, they're just not taking enough. So you can go a little bit higher and keep going up until you get the desired results. Somebody should be sort of holding your hand during this process, somebody who has experience. There's no problem with mixing up the ProArgi-9 and sort of wondering whether it's still active. You can take it's active for 24 hours, no problem. You can leave it mixed up in the shaker and just be sipping it all day long. It's completely fine to do that. Just a very, very important point to point out is that these products do not cure anything. Even though we see people getting this fuel into their body and seeing a benefit health-wise, the products are not the cure. The products are the highest quality raw food available in the world. When our body gets that level of fuel, it starts to work on fixing itself. Very, very simple, but just important to know that. So thanks very much for watching, and please tune in to our next video on another problem, and bye for now.